ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your presence this afternoon. We will be getting things started momentarily, so the organizers and the direct representatives that helped in preparing this 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum would like to ask everybody to please start the process of settling yourselves in. I know that we do have seats that are reserved. Those that do not have names on them, you're more than happy to take those if you so may. So make yourselves at home. We thank you guys for joining us this afternoon, and we hope that you enjoy the sights, sounds, and the discussions of the 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum. Hafa Adai and Tiro once again. It is now officially 12:46 p.m. Chamolinian Standard Time. We'd like to ask everybody to once again get themselves settled. I know we do want to start our proceedings on time, so thank you very much. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy each other's company as we get ready to start things off. While everybody's getting settled, just want to address a few house rules. There's not that much. But of course, we want to make sure that we limit distractions throughout both the regular proceedings as well as the presentations. If you have any electronic devices with you, whether they be phones or tablets, we humbly ask everybody during the duration of plenary session, committee of the whole, and the presentations to limit distractions by either turning them off or placing them on silent mode. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated from the direct representatives and most importantly, the members that will be engaging in session in the next few moments. So thank you very much. We hope you follow those rules accordingly. Once again, thanks. Gus, I'm out. Back and forth, right? Ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests, we are reaching the 5-minute mark before the start of the forum. Once again, the organizers humbly request your cooperation in making yourselves settled as we begin the process of starting today's festivities and proceedings. Thank you very much. Okay.
You're going to introduce us?
No.
Just the traditional or what?
Yeah.
Well, are you going to just say, oh, Pangahulog,
Yeah.
please stand?
No, because they're in general session or plenary session, so I cannot interrupt them. So your cue is when after. That's why you have to go in front. You have to give them a cue too. Yeah.
Can you go to the front and say?
Where's Glenna? We'd like to ask for our distinguished guests to please take your seats. Thank you very much. To try to lighten the mood up a little bit, I honestly gotta say that the only time I've ever seen anybody take their seats at this quick of a pace and in such a quiet manner was my first day of kindergarten. But seriously though, it's really great that we have a full house for today, especially with the festivities that are about to transpire before us. Hafide, Tiro, Mokethin, Lenwo, Caselelia, Rananim, Yokwe, and Ali. I am LJ Kostru, Chairman of the Saipan and Northern Islands Municipal Council and Public Information Specialist for the Office of the Governor. As moderator, I am honored to welcome each of you to the 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum. In the spirit of this year's theme, Navigating the World as One Micronesia, the presidents and governors of the islands that make up our region have navigated their way to the CNMI to sit down
as a collective body and discuss the issues that are of great importance to our part of the world. Throughout these 3 days of dialogue and discussion, they will gain insight, which in turn will hopefully become collective solutions to those issues that will not just benefit their respective countries, but Micronesia as a whole. To all of you, thank you for being here for this great occasion as our governor welcomes his colleagues from throughout this blue continent we call Micronesia. And now here to introduce the members of this body, the Chief Executives of Micronesia, his Special Assistant for Administration under the Office of the Governor, Mrs. Shirley Camacho Gomoro. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen, but we will go ahead with the order of introduction for our chief executives. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Excellency Tommy E. Remengesau Jr., President of the Republic of Palau. His Excellency Peter M. Christian, President of the Federated States of Micronesia. Her Excellency Hilda C. Heine, President of the Republic of the Marshall Islands. The Honorable Johnson Elimo, Governor of the State of Chuuk. The Honorable Marcelo K. Peterson, Governor of the State of Pohnpei. Recognized in absentia, the Honorable Lyndon Jackson, Governor of the State of Kosrae. The Honorable Lieutenant Governor James Yanktamay, representing the Honorable Tony Gagnan, Governor of the State of Yap. The Honorable Eddie Baza Calvo, Governor of the Territory of Guam and Chairman of the 22nd Micronesian Islands Forum. And last, but certainly not least, welcoming all his colleagues from throughout Micronesia, the Governor of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, the Honorable Ralph De Leon Guerrero Torres. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to remain standing for the presentation of colors. In honor of country and Commonwealth, Mr. Gus M. Kaipat will be singing the Star-Spangled Banner and the Commonwealth anthems, followed by each country's respective colors and the playing of their anthems. Encompassing our color guard is a multi-law enforcement unit from throughout the Northern Mariana Islands. Ladies and gentlemen, the national colors of the United States of America, escorted by the official flag of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Gita lugalum tasi nagagita no Adonai se priusaga malago Zaundi abauano Vai fatu hatalu Tisinya udingo otano Ni best zanmar Saludaho, God bona islas Marianas, otuna. Mil veces amar, saludaho. Bona islas Marianas utuna Setil matawal Pacifico Haelo feleweye Hilar hae welo di pei Ngeurel ngei bue muet sengi ngei pal se feliti Esemel wei welihiti we falawe tirongelu Lihatchit telefaliu Marianas I muere tu Sang rasfel buhua tirongelu Lihatchit telefaliu Marianas I muere tu
Ladies and gentlemen, the colors of the territory of Guam. Ladies and gentlemen, the colors of the Republic of Palau. Ladies and gentlemen, the national colors of the Federated States of Micronesia, escorted by the respective flags of the states of Chuuk, Pohnpei, Kos Rai, and Yap. And the colors of the Republic of the Marshall Islands. Thank you very much, officers. Our multi-law enforcement color guard under the direction of Captain Pete Leon Guerrero. Please remain standing for the invocation. Here to render the honors on behalf of His Excellency Bishop Brian P. Jimenez of the Diocese of Chalacanoa is Pastor of St. Jude Parish, Saipan, Reverend Father James Balahaja.
Let us pray. Good and gracious God, in this moment of island fellowship, we give you honor and praise. We recognize that despite our differences, we are all equal in dignity, and we all share the beautiful islands and ocean you have given us in your wisdom and providence. We thank you, Lord, for every gift that we have been given, the gift of our islands, the natural resources, and the people you place before us. As we begin this Micronesian Islands Forum, we ask for your hand of blessing on this meeting. Guide and direct everyone here so that the discussions will be full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. May all our good endeavors and plans begin with your inspiration and continue with your saving help. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Jesus Masipali, you may now take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we have a big agenda ahead of us this afternoon, so we're going to try to keep things going smoothly as we progress through this opening day of the opening day of the 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum. As you have seen, our distinguished members of the forum are seated before us. I want to take the time to recognize a few of our other distinguished guests that are sitting with us in our midst. Of course, always accompanying our Honorable Governor Ralph Torres is our Honorable Lieutenant Governor Victor B. Hokuk, joined by his staff and Second Lady Villa. We also want to take the moment to recognize the ever-beautiful First Lady Diane Torres. Welcome, Madam. I also want to take the time to recognize Rear Admiral Shoshana Chatfield from Joint Region Marianas. Thank you very much, Madam, for joining us. Also want to take the time to recognize some of our ambassadors that are joining us here. From the Republic of Palau, we'd like to welcome Ambassador Amy Hyatt. Thank you, Madam. Ambassador from the Federated States of Micronesia, Robert Riley. Thank you so much. And Ambassador from the Republic of the Marshall Islands, Karen Stewart. Welcome, ma'am. We do have the representatives from our municipal branch of government here with us today. I want to take the time to recognize them. We do have the Honorable David Apatang, Mayor of the Municipality of Saipan, joining us today, together with Vice Chairman Diego Caipan and Secretary Antonia Tudela from the Saipan and Northern Islands Municipal Council. I'd like to recognize also Mrs. Kelly Tenorio, Project Manager from the Northern Island Mayor's Office, representing Mayor Vicente Santos Jr. We have Mayor Joey Patrick San Nicolas from the Municipality of Tinian and Aguiguan, also joined by Chairman Edwin Hofschneider from the Tinian Municipal Council. And from our southernmost municipality, welcome to Mayor Efren Atalig, all the way from the beautiful island of Rota. Also want to take the time to recognize from the judiciary, the Honorable Chief Justice of the Commonwealth Supreme Court, Alexandro C. Costru. Thank you for joining us, who has roots to all different parts of Micronesia. He lives here, he's from Rota, he lives here, but he's a Micronesian boy at heart. Thank you very much, Your Honor, for joining us. Also want to take the time to recognize the members of the legislature that are here with us. First, from the House of the Senate, President Arnold Palacios, joined by his fellow senators, Francisco Borja, Sixto Igisomar, Jude Hofschneider, Francisco Cruz, Ustukitugwa, Janet Marit, my apologies, And from the House of Representatives, we are privileged to have Speaker Ralph Demapan and Vice Speaker Janet Maritita leading the rest of the members here to the 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum. I'd like to recognize Representatives Edwin Odon, Francisco de la Cruz, Representative Angel Demapan, who has ties to the Marshall Islands from his better half. We always joke around, he's the unofficial ambassador for the CNMI to the Marshall Islands. Good to have you here, Congressman. We also have Representatives Jose Itibus, Edmund Villagomez, Joseph P. Guerrero, Joseph Lee Pan Tenorio Guerrero. From Rhoda, Representative Glenn Maratita and Representatives Francisco Agun, Alice Igito, Chairman of the Saipan and Northern Islands Legislative Delegation, John Paul Sablan, together with Gregorio M. Sablan Jr. Representatives B.J. Atao, Ivan Blanco, Lorenzo de Longuerero, Vincent Sablan, Darnold Barcinas, and Ed Probst. Also want to take the time to recognize all the way from D.C. Assistant Secretary Douglas Dominich is joining us here today. And from the Office of Insular Affairs, we have Mr. Nick Pula with us. Thank you so much. I also want to take the time to recognize a few special individuals that helped in getting everything together for this special occasion. I want to recognize Special Assistant to Governor Calvo, Mr. Eric Palacios. We also want to recognize Assistant Secretary Alyssa Takesi, Chief of Staff, State of Pohnpei, Joseph Simon, for the Administrator of Planning from the State of Kosrae, Heidi Sigra, Direct Representative for the Micronesian Islands Forum for the State of Ya, Francis Itimay, Administrative Officer representing the Republic of Palau, Hoda Blessem. We have our legal counsel here from the Republic of Palau, but joining us here in Saipan, Mr. Larry Goddard. Special Assistant and Advisor, State of Chuuk FSM, Tizer Renault. Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Permanent Secretary, Bruce Kitchener. And two individuals that helped in making sure everything was tightened up for what you see today. First is a Special Assistant for the Administration, Shirley Camacho Gomro, who's here with us today, and Direct Representative for the CNMI for the Micronesian Islands Forum, Mrs. Glenna Palacios Regis. Let's all give these individuals a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And if we forgot to recognize you, we apologize, but know that your presence here is a strong testament to your dedication in seeing our leaders in action, regardless of which jurisdiction they may represent. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the first order of business. As moderator, I am honored to turn the proceedings over to the Honorable Eddie Baza Calvo, Governor of the Territory of Guam and Chairman of the 22nd Micronesian Islands Forum, to convene this session of the 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum. Chairman, I yield.
Thank you so much. I now call this 23rd Micronesian Island Forum to order. Again, I want to acknowledge and give thanks to our kind host and my brother from the Northern Marianas, Governor Torres, as well as Your Excellencies, the Presidents of the Marshall Islands, the Federated States of Micronesia and Palau, the Honorable Governors of the freely assembled states of Micronesia and Lieutenant Governors, and to all distinguished guests here this afternoon. As I look throughout the membership here, there's a bit of nostalgia in me, because 8 years ago, I came in my first year, I think it was in Pohnpei, at the time it was a different name, Mr. President, I think it was the Micronesia Leaders Forum, I think. We have changed names, but the years have gone by, and I must tell you what an honor it has been to be a part of this most esteemed membership of executives throughout Micronesia. In the intervening years, I've gained a little weight. My hair's got a little bit grayer, but I've got much more richer in experiences with my brothers and sisters from throughout Micronesia. as I turn over the gavel in this, my final year as member of this esteemed body, I must just tell you what optimism I have for the future for Micronesia. In these years, we have discussed on issues, and whether it was social, economic in nature, environment, the good Lord has placed all our islands, territories, and nations in the paradise called the Pacific. And we've discussed other issues so important in sustainability. Now, moving forward, and I want to thank you also for including in the agenda at my recommendation on political self-determination, because as I look at this body, each one of your political entities has been going on a journey. And we are in varying degrees of that journey in political maturity. And I thought it was very wise that we can come here and look at these issues and where we stand. And from that, I intend to learn a lot from my brothers and sisters here as well. So with that, I want to say thank you so much. I will miss you all dearly as I step out of public service and I go back into a life of, I would guess, normalcy. So thank you and God bless you. And with that, God bless you to yourselves, to your families, to your island nations and your people. Thank you. Thank you. With that, I would like to call and proceed with the election of the chairmanship, and I recognize President Tommy Remingsao of the Republic of Palau.
Thank you, Chairman. And we're not saying goodbye to you yet, so stick around. But it is my privilege to nominate Governor Ralph D.L.G. Torres to chair the 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum.
Okay, and with that, I look towards Lieutenant Governor Yang Metai for a closure. And as you see, everything is scripted, so it will be smooth. To Her Excellency, our President from the Republic of the Marshall Islands. Do I hear a second? Boy, I'm going to miss this.
I'd like to nominate someone else.
You've just gone against the script. Overruled. Governor Torres has been nominated to chair the 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum, and it has been seconded. And there being no other nomination, we will be moving to a vote by acclamation. So those in favor?
Aye.
It is acclamation. You've got unanimous vote. Motion carries. Congratulations, Governor Torres.
Please all rise.
Na setan ingonggat atay hinehi ni hatihan hita iman mo na kinauhita hita iman agof ligi en talota hita imanom ko sa ni famagun hita iman samoru
iman mataw. Ekunguk ikulo ginisan hijong, hunguk ikulo gininisan halom. Ginin ianoko jan agang nakulon imanyay nata ni man mo na kinihita. Ginin itay maktus na dinanya ianitin imanguelota iman mataw. Gwelu jan gwela sotpi ibendisyon mizo gientri siha jan ientaluniha iman mogas Micronesia niman motto magi gitano mizu gitanota arastrozo ni hali na suena iguinaifin imanglo na laksi ihinanaw igalayde disti papasombran mapagohis guato gimatingan gisinatpin itosjan gininisan papa ni Manzonusia esta hulo gimos gehilo isabona ina ihinasunyiha na fanomtum iinadingan nyiha wasay na nagwahaji siya ni ialibyo ni hagas maati tutuzi para imanyautaw nyiha Sainan mami, pulan zon gogwiham. Isgayhun mo na kariran mami. Intingwangi hamzo igwinaiza zan irispeto. Gimina ose adahiham gifinapus mami. Lugaw padegdok, muting latalag. Gansetan atilaw na buka na toftaf.
Bisita, organization na bisinuta sa Micronesia. Inkwenta imanyaw tao mami, iman samoro, kung binayza kon inazuus. Si Diyos mga sinifinatun mizu magi, gitano mami, isang katan na islan God. Si Diyos mas.
Pero, paisyo. Sengi kamam, alangamam rafalwash. Akalangal kami tamungol hilisto. Lami tori kamam, bawal si samolya yamam. Ilara, hilisto. Tero.
Good afternoon, everyone. Taking first rules of order, we're going to take the mic away from President Christian. Because I think he didn't read the script. Welcome, everyone. And I would like to thank all my colleagues for your support and vote of confidence in leading our 23rd Micronesian Summit, Micronesian Island Forum. Governor Calvo, President Rumengasao, President Christian, Excellency President Heine, Governor Elimo, Governor Peterson, and Lieutenant Governor Yang Mai. Thank you. Ali Yogway, Rananim, Kasalelia, Lenwo, Megatin, Mogatin, Hafaday, Zantiro. Welcome to the Marianas, to our beautiful island of Saipan. On behalf of the Lieutenant Governor, his beautiful wife, my beautiful wife, our administration, and the people of the CNMI, we wish all of our executive, our designated representatives, our leaders, and everyone a warm Hafaday and Tiro. Once again, good morning or good afternoon. The beauty of this forum is knowing that as leaders within Micronesia, we are fully aware of our similarities in culture and history, but we are also cognizant of our shared limitations with economic viability, education, and healthcare as an island nation due to our size and location. We recognize the fact that we have many problems and issues to address, from invasive species or relationship to the United States. Collective problems require collective solutions, and we are all uniquely positioned to determine sustainable policies and reforms that would develop our economies successfully and provide resources for our
resulting in better committee performance. At the end of the day, the success of our committees in enhancing regional communication and action will define the success of the Micronesian Island Forum. We are only as good as our people and their belief and follow through in our regional process. My friends, as I have always said, the oceans indeed do not divide us, but rather bring us closer together. We can prove that this is true by working together through this forum and solving the unique issues that need a regional response. In order to do this, we need to trust one another and to trust this regional process of cooperation. Sijus Mase, Sulang, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Excellency President Tommy Rumengasao. Now, next we have Excellency President Mr. Peter Christian from the Federated States of Micronesia.
I'm trying to find, hello, you were serious. Thank you. I am trying to find one of my old speeches. After the presentation, Mr. Chairman, after the presentation of the colors and the playing of the national anthems, the hymns, there seemed to have been a fine spirit in the air that begs not to be disturbed by mortal speech. And I think we ought to listen to that spirit. Because after all of that, is there something else to be said about this organization? The troubles that we want to address can be addressed elsewhere. But I think this morning is an exhibit of togetherness. And so I thought perhaps I would skip my written remarks this morning to follow my feelings that the presentation this morning, Governor, said it all. But we're all human and we make mistakes. We don't listen to our spirits enough. We think too much, but we don't feel enough. As Micronesians, I think we are here today to feel, to look at each other, to feel them. Though there are many in this group who are here honoring our meeting, who are probably thinking, why did they change the name of the organization? Was that important? Was the change important? Well, I'd like to explain, rather than go to my written speech, I'd like to explain why we changed the name. It was the Micronesian Leaders Conference. It was the Western Leaders Conference, and then it became the Leaders Conference, with emphasis on the leaders themselves. The whole point of changing to the Micronesian Island Forum is to take the focus away from the leaders, the persons, and focus on the region as a whole. And so I hope that some of you who are wishing to know why it was important to change the name, that is the purpose, to bring focus to the organization's region rather than the organization's leaders themselves. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the Governor of Guam for his year of stewardship, and I wish for the Governor of Saipan to do well in his stewardship. I want to thank the President of Palau for quoting from my preamble of my Constitution, that the sea does not separate us, it connects us. Of course, it was written by Palauan staff to the Constitutional Convention. The whole Constitution of the Federated States of Micronesia was written by Saipanese, Chamorros from CNMI, Palauans, and Marshallese, and then they left us with it. And you know, we are happy with it. We're not content. We think it needs to be revisited every so often. After the war, we became wards of nations that fought. We became collateral damage, so to speak. But we have, as a Christian nation, FSM, not Christian as my last name, but Christian in the sense of the spiritual thing, we have learned to forgive. And we want our neighbors, our partners, to forgive, to learn with us, to learn to forgive, and let the sad past remain in the rubbles of its own demise. And I think if we begin to bring that sense of forgiveness to us, we'll find better things in the future. Some of us have been fortunate. We have been able to sing an anthem of our independence. Some of us are still struggling, not just here, but there are others in the world who are still struggling to make better their political standing. The Federated States of Micronesia is a strong supporter of any democratic establishment. And in this sense, we have reached out to encourage other countries, including North Korea and South Korea, to look at things in their own perspective, perhaps the Oriental way, perhaps the Pacific way. We must not demand from the other. We must ask nicely that things change. And I think in that sense, the FSM is prepared to side with anyone who's willing to test their sense of democracy. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Next, we have Our Excellency President Hilda Heine from the Republic of Marshall Islands. It's on. Can you try? I think they took the good one and gave. No, there it is.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Governor Torres, Chairman and host of this 23rd Micronesian Island Forum leaders, honorable ministers, designated representatives, delegates, and our guests, ladies and gentlemen. I also join our moderator in welcoming Assistant Secretary Dominic to this region. Welcome, sir. And also welcome Director Nicola and your delegation to this conference. It is indeed my honor to bring you warm greetings of Yahweh from the government and people of the Marshall Islands, Republic of the Marshall Islands, to the distinguished leaders of Micronesia and other respective delegations for this 23rd Micronesian Island Forum. I would also like to express my profound sentiment of returning to see my fellow Chamorro and Carolinian brothers and sisters here on Saipan after so many years. This is going to work yet. Thank you. For many of us present here today, Saipan, once the headquarters of the TTPI government and seat of the Congress of Micronesia, holds significant history and treasured memories. For my delegation and I, our homecoming to Saipan to participate in this Micronesian Island Forum is indeed much anticipated, and I wish to reaffirm RMI's full commitment to the work and processes of the forum and to the responsibility placed on us to address the challenges and issues facing our region. I want to thank our designated representatives who have met in the last 2 days to review and further streamlining the agenda in order for us to focus our time on initiatives that will bring the greatest return and benefits to our peoples. Our chairman, Governor Torres, your team could not have chosen a better theme for this year's forum, navigating the world as one Micronesia. This theme maintains the intimate sense of Micronesian solidarity that has grown and remains strong. In a world of rapid geopolitical and technological change, we all share the goal of providing peace, prosperity, stability, and security for our people. This aim is ambitious given that Micronesia covers about 9.8 million square kilometers of the vast Pacific Ocean, representing an area more than the size of the continental United States and European Union put together. The RMI congratulates the leaders for taking further steps to formalize the forum as our sub-region's premier platform for regional cooperation. We want to thank the leadership of Palau in particular for its support in this endeavor. Also, I want to thank the outgoing chairman for taking us through last year. While the rules of procedures drafted for our review and discussion signal a further step forward, perhaps we should consider whether a formal founding agreement or charter among all 7 members is now needed to give the body a more solid legal and institutional foundation and basis upon which we can then develop and agree upon our specific operational procedures. I look forward to discussing this matter further with you and to considering what ultimate shape, form, and even name this important body can take. I know that President Christian is passionate about our name, our current name, but perhaps we can weave the term navigators into our name, as Micronesia is known for great navigators. Our presence at this forum once again provides us the opportunity to discuss and review past efforts and take further actions towards improving the lives and livelihoods of our people. In March 2012, this forum adopted MCE's Resolution 17-04, which formally recognized that, and I quote, political, social, and economic equity, gender equality, and environmental justice are the cornerstones for achieving a sustainable future, and that women are fundamentally linked to achieving success in this endeavor, unquote. In support of that, the Marshall Islands hosted in August of last year the Micronesian Women's Forum, or Micronesian Women's Conference, that brought together representatives from all over Micronesia, all jurisdictions represented here today, resulting in the adoption of the Quebec Declaration and signal Micronesia's readiness to discuss our own circumstances regionally and internationally. The increased participation and voice of women at all sectors and at all levels of government and community is critical for success of our respective communities. In this regard, gender equality and women must therefore be featured more prominently in our discussions. I am certain this will exemplify the themes of this year's forum and will complement other critical issues in Micronesia, such as transportation, health, workforce development, and energy, all important sectors that require our attention. I close by joining previous speakers in expressing my sincere gratitude to Governor Torres and the people of the CNMI for the reception and warm hospitality since our arrival. I will join in the discussion as we go over in the coming agenda. Once again, thank you, and I look forward to a productive forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency President Heine. Next, we have Honorable Governor Johnson Elimo from the state of Chuuk.
Sejabur ubatiru akomon aje godmi urusan nabarap. Tiru Honorable Governor Torres, Honorable Governor Calvo, Your Excellencies, Puan Chiajiat, Governor Peterson, Leader Governor Edelman, I join the others in recognizing and paying respect to those dignitaries coming from abroad, as well as our own region. Urusan tiro ngay medicine cho nonom ne virats at kabong raranim. Mr. Chairman and honorable leaders, I bring to you very warm greetings from the beloved people of Chuk and our leadership. Over the course of the next few days, we will discuss and tackle issues of importance to our region, which will enable us to navigate the world through one Micronesia. From the issue of climate change to the issue of human resource development, from the issue of transportation to the issue of healthcare, and from the issue of communication to the issue of tourism development, and of course the issue of self-determination and decolonization, which is such an important issue. And I encourage all of us to delve deep into the important issues and make sound decisions which will have long and positive tangible results for our young generations and young and future generations to come. Our resolve as a Micronesian people should never be undermined at any time by any influence of today and tomorrow. We are a strong and resilient people, and we should remain strong as long as we live on these beloved and blessed islands of ours. We must work collectively together to ensure that none of us is left alone to deal with his or her own difficult issues. And we must respect the wishes of our people first and foremost. As leaders, we must carry out their wishes at any time, anywhere. We are here to participate in any way we can to advance our collective agenda, and we will not hesitate in any way to assist and advance our determination to navigate the world through one Micronesia. I want to thank you, Mr. Governor, Leon Guerrero Torres, and the beloved people of these great northern Mariana Islands, who are our brothers. Thank you for everything, including taking care and sharing our people from Chuk on your island. And we are looking forward to a successful summit. And please let my staff and I know of anything that we can do to ensure a successful summit. Lastly, my honorable gent and lady, I want to advance the issue of next venue for the MIF on our agenda. The Chukish people and the leadership is willing to host the next MIF, hopefully in June or July of next year. And once again, on behalf of the good people of Chuk and its beloved leadership, I thank you all and God bless Micronesia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Governor Johnson Elmo. Next, we have Honorable Governor Marcelo Peterson from the state of Pohnpei. There you go.
Thank you, Chairman. Ian, Duro, Fairo, Governor Torres, Chairman, President Ramengasao, President Christian, President Aini, Governor Calvo, who is attending this forum probably for the last time, Lieutenant Governor Yang Mai, observers, ladies and gentlemen, and most especially the magnificent people of the Northern Marianas Islands. Kaselelia Mainko, I bring greetings from our traditional leaders and the people of Pohnpei. I usually greet people who come to Pohnpei, and I usually say, welcome to the rainiest island in Micronesia. So if you need water, please let us know. Over the years, as I represent the people of Pohnpei to this forum, I continue to feel the great sense of solidarity that we share in common as Micronesians. Above all, we value gatherings such as this, for it brings us, who are servants of the people of Micronesia, together to discuss issues and share concerns throughout our part of the world. For this reason, we will continue to value the sentiments and the guiding principles that gave us birth to this important body. Just as any organized body that needs to be guided by a certain set of rules and procedures, we must do so in the spirit of commonality and avoid structural rigidity for its impetus, organic progress. Besides, here in the islands, we feel better making decisions based on collective consensus. Governor Torres, you recently visited Pohnpei to attend the meeting of the Pacific Island Development Bank Board of Governors. While we trust that you enjoy your stay with us, you visited us when the people of Pohnpei were just recuperating from the recent weather phenomena that our elders described to be the worst in their lives' experience. Infrastructure and property damages were in the millions of dollars. People were displaced, and one life was lost. With all these issues lurking in the back of our minds, we are very honored to receive you and other important dignitaries to Pohnpei. For it is part of our nature as islanders, as Micronesians, to always care for the well-being of our people and our neighbors and friends, regardless of the situations we find ourselves in. For this reason, Pohnpei thanked the territory of Guam for reaching out to us the support of the Regional Workforce Development Committee, recommendations for the Regional Job Corps Center serving all members and jurisdictions. Efforts are underway in Pohnpei to work with other jurisdictions toward this purpose. Equally important to us is a complementary effort to establish a career and technical education training institute in the FSM. We believe that a regional job corps center can help place graduates of our institute where they are needed. While we always hope to share our best with each other, sometimes we end up sharing some of the things that we were never intended to be shared. Case in point, we sympathize with our friends from the CNMI for having the devastating effect of Typhoon Saudelor. We had no idea who gave that weather phenomena the name that originated from Pohnpei. So to show that it was also formed in Pohnpei, and involuntarily sent here. But due to your resilience of your people, you emerged from the incident again as one, as strong as people. So too, we ask our friends from CNMI and Guam to please do not share with us your coconut rhinoceros beetles. Pohnpei always welcome gifts from other neighbors, but not the beetle, please. And for this, we will need your help. As Pohnpeians, we wish to remain free to determine what is best for us in the context of our collective regional friendship and cooperation. We wish for the same freedom for all of us. Let me conclude by stating that the reception we receive from the people of this Commonwealth has been superb and uniquely Micronesian. We salute you and for your great hospitality. As well, we thank you for hosting so many of us here. Siyos Mase.
Thank you, Governor Peterson. And I must say, before I go with you, Lieutenant Governor, if you allow me to say a few words, it was my great honor to go to Pohnpei, and I was part of the Pacific Island Development Bank, as the governors are part of the board members. And it's my first time to go to Pohnpei, and I love it. I can't say enough good things when I got back, and you're right, I saw some of the bridges that was devastated. And because of that partnership that we have through you, our president, and I also gotta give a shout out to your mayor, Mayor Jose San Nicolas. We're working on having a collaborative effort in sending our DPS, police officers, and our fire EMS to see how we can help also the state and national. And we've discussed that, and we talked about that also in making sure that we have the resources and helping each other in the time of need. And so we definitely acknowledge that. And I can't wait to come back to Pohnpei. And I told my wife that next time I want to bring her with me. So, and I yet to go to the other islands. With that, thank you as well for your hospitality while I was there. Next, we're definitely no stranger here. I think some of us here took you as our teacher. And I'm not sure if you're representing the state of Yap or us. But also, I want to say thank you for coming back in a different capacity. And now I'd like to address our Honorable Lieutenant Governor, James Yantumai, from the state of Yap. Oh, before we do, I want to give Senator, Senator Jute, Senator, can you please stand up, and our mayor? They were in Yap last week, 2 weeks ago. So, all right, I want to say, shout out. Chairman. Okay. All right, Lieutenant Governor, the floor is yours.
There. True. Thank you very much, Chairman and Honorable Governor Torres, for the kind words and the extra special introduction. Indeed, it's good to be back home, other home. When the presentation of flags and the national anthems were being played on the PA system, I received, or I heard a ping on my mini iPad here. When I checked, it was a message from my wife that, that she is watching the live streaming of what's taking place right now. So, for the videographers,
Thank you very much for enabling my wife to watch. And by the way, when I sent her a copy of one of the draft of my remarks, she wrote back and asked, why do you recognize all the men with only one lady and not all the other ladies, including the First Lady? So I also like to recognize your beautiful wife and First Lady of the CNMI as well, too, and the Second Lady of the CNMI. Tiro, Mogatin, and good afternoon to you all. Please allow me to pay my respect to all the excellencies, presidents of the forum member island nations, and to all the honorable governors, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My utmost respect to all of you, and I thank you for giving me a moment of your time this afternoon. I arrived here with a very small delegation from the state of Yap and with all the big, warm greetings and wishes to the people of the CNMI. And I wish to say that for the past few days that we've been here, we've been so overwhelmed with the half-a-day spirit, the warm welcome, and the generous hospitality that the government and the people of this great Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands have extended to us. We are extremely thankful, and we want to express our debt of gratitude and appreciation to you, esteemed Honorable Governor Ralph De Leon Torres, for making our stay an enjoyable one. We are very grateful for the effort put forward to make this 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum a success, and we thank you and your dedicated staff for all the effort and hard work put forth to make this a success. I would like to extend to you our sincere congratulations as the new chairman of the forum, and Governor Tony Ganian sends his best wishes and congratulations to you as the new chairman of this forum, and asked that I convey his deepest regrets that he isn't able to join us this afternoon, though he looks forward to meeting you soon. And by the way, we've been extending to you our invitation since 2 years ago to come to Yap and join us at the App Day, and we hope next time you'll make the time and the effort to visit us there. I do not have anything new to add to what has been eloquently articulated, especially those delivered by my esteemed president, and I'm so concerned that I may twist his words around, get into trouble, and that's because of the unique membership makeup of this forum, that the governors of the states of the Federated States of Micronesia have to be here in this forum. And so I think I have to be very, very careful on what to say in the presence of my president. But the truth is, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to participate in this forum once again on behalf of Governor Ganian. I believe it is by design that I'm here today as a gesture of goodwill and appreciation on his part, as he is fully aware of my being a former long-time resident of this impressive, beautiful island. I couldn't be so grateful, and I'm so thankful for the incredible opportunity. Indeed, it's a magical experience to be back at my other home. I'm so thankful to the people of the Commonwealth for being so good to me during those years that I was here. as I close my short remark, I would like to pay tribute and express my profound appreciation to our outgoing chairman of the MIF, the Honorable Governor Eddie B. Calvo, for all that he's been done for the forum and the people of our region. Governor, you will be sorely missed, and I wish you all the best in all your future endeavors. With that, I start thank you and dankulu nasutusmase. God bless everyone.
Lieutenant Governor, thank you for the invitation, and I apologize for not making the last 2 years. But because of flight shortfall, I will be going for the next YAP Day. Unfortunately, First Lady will not make it. Yeah, you like that, President? So sorry, First Lady. YAP Day. There's only one seat. I'll follow Lieutenant Governor. With that, I would like to thank Lieutenant Governor. I would like to now take a short recess, and I ask that we convey back in about 15-20 minutes. We have picture time. So we have pictures with the leaders.
Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you for joining us here at the 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum. And I want to clarify the title originally made earlier when we recognized this gentleman. He is the Director of Insular Affairs under the Department of the Interior, Mr. Nick Pula. Thank you very much, sir. Chairman, when you're ready.
We are back to our plenary session. I would like to proceed with our next item on the agenda. I would like to call the Honorable and Excellency President Tommy Remengesau Jr., our Secretary General to Micronesian Island Forums, to deliver the Secretariat Annual Report. I think just give it time and then they, yeah. Good, President.
Thank you, Chairman. The microphones are giving us a message to also get on with it soon. Chairman, I must first really thank the country representatives who have really also been working very hard on our behalf, starting with the meetings in Guam recently, and of course the early meetings in January. So I'm not going to go through in detail what they have done, except to say there is a blue packet in your file that sort of summarizes the progress in the development of the Micronesian Islands Forum Secretariat. So maybe just right off the bat, let me say that we do have an administrative officer on board right now, Ms. Hulda Blesam, who was hired in April. So Hulda is in the house. Can you please? Yeah, this lovely young lady is our AO, Administrative Officer. As far as the MIF's office, we started, as you know, with a temporary one in April of last year. But I'm proud to say that we now have a formal permanent office at the Palau International Coral Reef Center with their new building. So the office is fully furnished and functional at this time. Based on the adaptation and recommendation of the forum, we also advertised for a regional invasive species coordinator. Again, 13 applications were received. A representative has been hired, selected, I should say. His name is Mr. James Stanford. And I understand the negotiations with this contract are now being processed and finalized. But we do have an invasive species on board. The designated representatives, of course, were tasked with the job of looking at the proposed rules and regulations of the Forum Secretariat Office. They have done so, and so they will be presenting those rules and regulations to our respective countries this week. These rules, of course, have to do with the annual meetings, the Office of the Secretariat, rules on the designated representatives, powers and functions of the chair, and the types of membership regarding full, associate, and observers. Also, quickly, Chairman, as you know, invoices have been sent out to all 9 members with the $15,000 contributions. And so far, Palau, CNMI, the Marshall Islands, and YAP have duly contributed, and we are hoping to receive all contributions by the end of May. The total should be $135,000 when everybody has paid their dues. And the good news is that in this year of 2018, we will also see the second drawdown tranche from the Taiwan grant to MIF, which would be in the amount of $200,000. The activities for 2018 in general is that we will work with all jurisdictions to expand the outside contributions, work with jurisdictions to begin the process of identifying and hiring a Secretary General again, this will be done and recommended through our country representatives. Development of a web page, follow through on MIF commitments, establish the systems for the MIF office, and to follow through on the meetings, with the meetings of designated representatives on the things that we duly adopt on this forum. So that's in a nutshell is the activities of the Secretariat Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President. I just wanted to acknowledge, when it's your time to talk, you can just give it a few seconds, I think, and that's when they're monitoring there to turn on your mic. I hope that's the case. Any questions?
No, I don't have a question. But I do want to thank those who have traveled all the way from Washington to join us. And thank you for allowing us to use and for contributing to the Secretariat of this organization, which is an organization of the American Pacific. As you know, the Pacific is divided into three, really. One is the Trans-Pacific, as we know it. The other one is Macron-Pacific, which is New Caledonia and Tahiti. And then the Queen's Pacific, which is the former Crown colonies that includes the smaller island of Australia and Kiribati and all those. So I have seen how much France give support to their places, but I need to see more support from our partners in the United States to get our organization better moving, better staffed, and to be able to assist you in helping us. Thank you, Mr. Dominici, for coming all the way here to give us your support. Appreciate it.
Any other questions, comments, before we move on to the next item? Okay. President Heine?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to take this opportunity to thank the President of Palau and I don't know what's wrong with my. This is not my day, I guess. One of those days. Anyway, I wanted to thank the President of Palau and his staff for the report on the progress of the Micronesian Island Forum. And I guess going forward, I have some questions that I'd like to just raise, and we don't have to answer them now, but just for thinking on about the organization. I guess we've already decided that the organization, the Secretariat, will be based in Palau, and that's decided. Now I'm wondering about the Secretariat. How big are we thinking about this? I mean, is this going to be a thinking Secretariat with research and support for the various islands and our initiatives, or just a few staff? I guess that's why we raised the issue of perhaps the need to have a charter for this organization, so that we know what is it for, what is the purpose, and based on that, then of course the staffing and the budget and all of that can fall into place based on what this animal is going to look like. I don't know that we have that concept together at this point. So I just wanted to, and I'm new to this, so perhaps all of that has been decided, and I'm just not aware of all the specifics. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, if I may just quickly respond. Again, the Office of the Secretary General and the formulation of the Secretariat Office I'm sure is very consistent with our acknowledgement that follow-up has been perhaps our biggest area of need. Previously, we do meet regularly, but it seems like the responsibility to follow-ups have always fallen on our respective ministers, directors, or who have also their everyday responsibilities. So the idea to have that one person, whether you call it the Secretary General, is really to make sure that this forum has some voice or some capability to follow up on the resolutions we adopt, the joint communiques and the likes. I believe it's not a permanent situation for Palau to host this office. If I remember in the draft, it can also be on a rotational basis. But Palau was, of course, entrusted to organize this and work with everybody. But again, this is all based on the representatives that are duly appointed by its respective governments. So they have met in January, and they met again in Guam, and they are trying to finalize some description or organization of what we can expect. I would hope that by the time we leave Saipan, Chairman, that we have a better idea of what it is that is encompassed by the rules and the regulations that they have submitted, because it's important that every one of us have a full understanding of what those rules and procedures will cover with the Secretary.
I remember
President Peterson, Christian, sorry.
I remember in President Heine's presentation or remarks earlier that there is one spot in the proposed rules that she is probably recommending that we sort of take out, but we have to have some rules, at least for the time being, even if they're called temporary rules of procedures. But the part that she was referring to is really the core issue that we need to address, and that is the formalization of the group, its name, what is it for how long is it going to live, is it going to have an office here, for how many years, move there. I think that's what we need to address sometimes in the next 2 months to get it out of the way and get organized. As you know, one of the purposes of trying to organize the Micronesian Islands Forum is to be able to move forward and reach a period in time where we become eligible as recipients of grants, so that we would bring home that rather than having it circulate down all the way to Fiji, and then we have difficulty following whether or not such grants remain available to us or not. It would help our cause, help our efforts to be able to gain confidence and trust of grantor agencies if we establish an organization that is transparent and can prove to be able to account for grants. But it must be an effort on our part to make sure that most grants that come are project-oriented.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And having said that, how do we reconcile? Do we say, I move that we adopt the written rules as our temporary rules of procedure, minus the, I don't know what section that was, I wasn't paying attention. But something like that needs to be moved.
Perhaps we can make that towards the end of the week discussion, towards the closure.
Okay.
And in the meantime, we might have a conversation on how do we go about addressing the concern or how to tie that together. But definitely good insight. Right. Okay. But let's definitely take that into a higher discussion before the end of the summit. I'd like to address our Governor Eleanor.
Thank you, Chairman. I simply wanted to refer to all these rules that are listed here and to talk about rules there, that if we can have copies of all these rules so we can review. No, I don't know anything about the specifics about all these rules that are discussed.
Well, I think because it seems like this is a discussion that we need to take, why don't we move this issue towards the end of the summit, and we can collaborate with each other, with our staff, and so by the time the end of the summit, the forum, we can have a clear understanding on where we want this forum to go forward. Any other question before we move forward? Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure whether, we are just gullible or so obedient, and I know, everybody wants to shy away from this issue. I'm talking about Isinia. But before we came here, we were sent an invoice and we're told, you got to bring a check to us here, at the MIF in Saipan. So, for the record, I like to say that, as poor as we are with our meager resources, we try to scrounge to see if we can come up with the required $15,000 dues. So, I know that, maybe it's not the time to raise this right now, but I'm not even sure who to turn it to, whether I take it and deposit in my account or... So maybe you can, maybe I'll hand it to you, Mr. Chairman, and you take care of it. Thank you so much.
My check is in the mail.
So that'll take a couple months before he gets there. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. We'll definitely put this into the Secretariat. Any other questions before we move forward? If not, then we'll now dissolve into committee as a whole to begin presentation of our guest speakers. And I would like to take this opportunity to extend my appreciation to all of our special guests who have traveled from all our neighboring islands just to join us today and for the remaining of the week. And more importantly, thank you for your willingness to share your perspective on matters of interest that are more important in our region. I now call the moderator to facilitate the presentation according to the order of the agenda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And before we announce our presenters for this afternoon, I want to recognize an individual who came all the way from Honolulu to join us here. He's the Director of the Natural Resources Conservation Service Office for the Pacific Island areas for the United States Department of Agriculture, Mr. Travis L. Thomason. He's here with us today, so there you go. Aloha, kako to you, Mr. Thomason. So if anybody has any questions they would like to talk to him about, whether we rise down into recess or whichever, he's open to hear any questions you may have. So, Mr. Thomason, thank you for joining us this afternoon and welcome to Saipan. All right, so we will begin with our presentations at this point in time. We do have 3 presentations lined up for this afternoon's first day of the 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum. All important topics, not just to each respective jurisdiction separately, but to all of us as a whole. We'd like to ask for the presenters' cooperation to stick within the time frame. I know we have a busy schedule lined up before we recess for the end of the day. So within 30 minutes for all of our presenters, we thank you for your cooperation. Our first presenter is the former Deputy Chief of Staff of the United States Department of the Interior,
Senior Advisor to the Secretary of the Interior, and an administrative appointee to the White House Working Group on the political status of Puerto Rico under President George W. Bush. He's also the former Deputy Chief of Staff of the United States Department of the Interior, Senior Advisor to the Secretary of the Interior, and a George Bush administrative appointee to the White House Working Group on the political status of Puerto Rico. If I apologize for the redundancy there, Judge. That's for the people who didn't hear it in the back. However, though, you know how we say here in the Marianas, Hafide Todumaulik, where he's from, where his family's from, they say a little differently. They say, hola, ¿cómo estás? Here to talk about building relationships with the Pacific U.S. territories and the freely associated states is the Assistant Secretary for Insular and International Affairs under the United States Department of the Interior, Assistant Secretary Douglas W. Domenech. Sir, if you may.
Thank you so much. It's half a day, and good afternoon to everybody. It's great to be with you, and it really is an honor to be with the leaders of Micronesia and the other distinguished guests here at the 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum. And of course, it's great to be back here in the CNMI. Governor Torres, thank you for hosting the forum this year, and let me be the first to congratulate you on winning another election. And it's great to see you again since our meetings in Washington, and it was fun cutting the ribbon this morning on the new water project, and so that's great. Governor Calvo, it's great seeing you again, and thank you for our meeting earlier this week. And I left the check with him during that meeting. President Heine, it's great to see you again, and from your visit in Washington last year with the Secretary and hosting me in the remarkable Marshall Islands earlier this year. President Romengesau, it's great seeing you again. It's been 10 years, but certainly look forward to visiting Palau soon. President Christian, it's always good to see you again, and especially since your visit in Washington, and also each of the governors from the FSM. And so, again, thank you so much for allowing me to come by and share for a few minutes about some thoughts in Washington and for your steadfast leadership on behalf of your people and citizens. I would like to take a moment to send greetings to you from your brothers and sisters in American Samoa. On the way here, we spent a week with Governor Lolo and visiting their beautiful islands and witnessing their annual very patriotic Flag Day festivities. Again, thanks for allowing me to take a few minutes to update you on some activities in Washington at Interior and with the administration. And I only have a couple of brief points. I think I'll be able to return some time to the schedule. So the first point is leadership changes. I'm honored to convey greetings to you from President Trump and Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke. As you know, last year, the President made a 5-country Asia trip and outlined the administration's free and open Indo-Pacific strategy. This was followed by the release of the U.S. National Security Strategy, which is organized under 4 main principles: protecting the homeland, promoting American prosperity, preserving peace through strength, and advancing American influence. And this really is a bold America First national strategy that is an all-of-government approach to pursue U.S. strategic goals. The strategy outlines the strategic importance of this region for the United States, and it's clear that this administration considers the Indo-Pacific region the most strategically important geographical area of the world. Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke also has a keen interest in the region, having served here during his time as a Navy SEAL. He's met several with several of you during your visits to Washington, and is anxious to come back to the Pacific soon. So hopefully we'll be able to arrange that in the next year. Takes great interest in insular issues, and both in the U.S. territories as well as the freely associated states, and even traveled to the U.S. Virgin Islands in his first month as secretary. We meet often to discuss these issues. And then I thought I'd just share with you, the Secretary has outlined several priorities for his Secretariat, and several of them fit in our mission. First, to create a conservation stewardship legacy. Second, to responsibly develop our natural resources. Third, to restore trust. Fourth, to ensure insular sovereignty means something. Fifth, to protect our people and the border. And finally, to modernize our infrastructure. And I think all of these fit insular areas in different ways. The last leadership change since your last meeting, I suppose, is me. And so I thought I'd just give you a little bit on me, although I didn't expect the intro. I was honored to be nominated by the President and confirmed by the U.S. Senate last September. My father, as was mentioned, my father and his family for many generations are from Puerto Rico. And although I was not born there, I lived there in my youth. I would like to think that islands are in my blood. I have a forestry and wildlife management degree and served in the George W. Bush administration at Interior and as the Virginia Secretary of Natural Resources. During my last year at Interior, while serving as Deputy Chief of Staff to the Secretary, I had the opportunity to lead the Office of Insular Affairs after the early departure of David Cohen, who I think many of you know. So in that last year, I had the opportunity to deal with some of these issues. In the summer of 2016, I was asked to help lead the Trump transition for the Interior Department and came in on day one in January of 17, serving as the senior White House advisor until I was nominated and confirmed for this position. So let me just say it's great to be back working on a mission that I think is so important. And so my second point is the job has changed a little bit, and I wanted to basically talk about that a second so you're aware. For your awareness, I wanted to let you know that my responsibilities have changed slightly. As I mentioned, I was confirmed as Assistant Secretary for Insular Areas. However, under the Secretary's reorganization effort, that role has expanded. He's asked me to take on the additional responsibilities of overseeing Interior's Office of International Affairs, as well as our Oceans program. You can see how these things all kind of fit together. And this included a title change, so that's why you hear more and more my title as Assistant Secretary for Insular and International Affairs. In addition, as a result of the significant hurricanes that hit the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, the Secretary asked me to take on the department's lead role on the Federal Interagency Natural and Cultural Resource Recovery Team working closely with FEMA. So that's sort of a separate group in Interior that I'm dealing with. As you know, I'm sure all of us know, we cannot do our jobs without good and trusted staff. So in addition to our staff in Washington and those in Honolulu, there are also staff in the field such as Harry Blanco, who is based here in Saipan. Harry, why don't you stand up and say hi? That's Harry. And traveling with me today is the Director of the Office of Insular Affairs, Nick Pula, who all of you know very well. Nick, why don't you stand up? By the way, this reminds me that when I was nominated for this position, Nick promised me travel to exotic islands. And instead I got 2 hurricanes in the Caribbean and nuclear weapons pointed at Guam and CNMI. So, but it's working out okay so far. My third point is the agenda. So this is really my final point. As we all know, every election brings about change and provides an opportunity to reset the agenda. And especially as elected officials well know, first you get sworn in and then you get sworn at. But the policy portfolio for insular affairs is broad and diverse because the issues in each insular area are diverse. Every new assistant secretary tries to come up with what their major initiative will be while they're in office. And to be honest with you, I'm still formulating that. But the thing I pledge to each of you is that I will continue to listen and learn with you together. We will build bridges to solve many problems that confront the islands. Our focus overall will be to improve the living conditions and economic opportunities for the people living in the insular areas. We must end the punitive treatment of U.S. territories through laws that inadvertently hurt islands. We must continue to work for the transition of the Compacts of Free Association in 2023 to keep our relationships strong. We must continue to make infrastructure investments in schools and hospitals. We must work to provide military veterans the health care and other benefits they have earned, no matter where they live. And I want to take the moment to recognize the service of so many of your citizens in our military. We must work to promote freedom, democracy, and free markets to protect citizens and nationals in the U.S. territories and protect freely associated states from other influence in the region. We must strengthen the insular governments to promote good government practices and transparency, really as a way to build confidence in the Congress and with other federal agencies. We must develop energy solutions unique to island communities. Those solutions must be centered on providing the lowest cost energy for people. We must prepare especially low-lying islands and atolls for the impacts of king tides and wave-driven flooding. In fact, today, USGS and NOAA and the University of Hawaii will be releasing a new paper on models that predict significant threats to many low-lying Pacific atoll islands in the decades ahead. These are just a few of the many issues you have raised with us in the past during our meetings. And there are obviously many others: cabotage, accessing fishing areas, labor shortages, Jones Act, the Real ID Act, the military buildup, invasive species, and I could go on and on. Yes, we have many problems to solve together, but I think there are also many reasons to be encouraged about the future. There's a new book that came out, written by a guy named Steven Pinker, and it's called Enlightenment Now. And I just want to quote his sort of line about the book. If you think the world is coming to an end, think again. People are living longer, healthier, freer, and happier lives. And while our problems are formidable, the solutions lie in using reason and science. Interior and our civilian and military federal partners are here to build stronger bridges into the future. Let's get to work. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary.
I'd like to ask you a question.
Well, we're going to wait for the end of all the presentations for discussion, but if you so may, Mr. President,
Somebody speaks after him.
the floor is yours.
Thank you. I just need to
He needs a
ask
mic.
for your
He needs a
help.
mic. He needs a mic.
I need your help.
Getting a microphone.
Many decades ago, the states contracted Continental Airlines and brought this airline into this region. And throughout the evolution of the airline to what it is today, United, Micronesia has been saddled with a monopoly of service that has been one of the most difficult issues to tackle. The United States deregulated airlines in the United States in the hope that competition will take the lead to improve for the consumers. That has not happened here.
Yeah.
Can you please help us find how to solve this issue?
Yes,
Thank you very much.
definitely work
That's
on it. That's what free markets are about. It doesn't make any sense to me. So.
And since you are very close to Mr. Trump, sir, can you please tell him that the Micronesian Islands Forum begs him to change his mind about climate change?
Okay. Is that it?
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much for that presentation. My apologies, I do want to reiterate this because I forgot to mention it prior to your introduction. All presenters are asked to remain in the room for open discussions at the end of all your respective presentations. So we thank you for your cooperation on that. We are actually ahead of schedule, Mr. Chairman, with today's order of business. So we do have our next presentation lined up. Of course, we are a people of the ocean, and the resources of the ocean are very important to each and every one of us, and every man, woman, and child that each of you govern. So our next presentation is on Fisheries Management, and to give that presentation is the Executive Director of the Western Pacific Regional Fishery Management Council, Ms. Kitty Simmons. Simons, my apologies. Ms. Kitty Simons, ladies and gentlemen.
I noticed Doug was very quiet when somebody said climate change. It's my agenda. Okay. Okay, so aloha, talofa, hafade, tiro, greetings, Chairman Torres, President Christian, President Heine, President Remengesau, Governor Calvo, my pal, Governor Ilimo, Lieutenant Governor Sigra, Governor Peterson, and Lieutenant Governor Yang Timai. I got it right. And all of you gathered here today, thank you so much for the honor of being invited to address the 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum about the critical role of the Western Pacific Fishery Management Council in promoting environmentally sustainable fisheries management in the region while supporting cultural values and traditional practices. For those of you who do not know me, I am Kitty Simons, a native of the island of Maui and the Council's Executive Director for the past 35 years. Members of our council are the heads of fisheries in Hawaii, American Samoa, Guam, and the Northern Mariana Islands, 8 private individuals knowledgeable about fisheries from these islands who are nominated by their respective governor, and 4 federal agencies, the National Marine Fisheries Service, the U.S. Coast Guard, the U.S. Department of State, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So while we are a federal organization, our voting members represent almost entirely the local governments and fishing communities of the U.S. Pacific. A critical role that we play is to provide the U.S. territories and Commonwealth with a voice and a vote on the way U.S. federal fisheries are managed in the Pacific Ocean. The Council develops, monitors, and amends fishery ecosystem plans for all sectors, from subsistence fishermen to the $100 million plus Hawaii-based commercial longline fishery. And we manage these fisheries with advice from fishermen and other members of the local public. And these plans that we have and amendments, they're approved by the Secretary of Commerce, implemented by the National Marine Fisheries Service, and enforced by the U.S. Coast Guard. The U.S. fisheries in the Western Pacific region are very important to our islands, but also to our nation. 10% of the seafood consumed in the United States is domestically caught. However, our island fisheries provide a much higher percentage of seafood locally consumed. In Hawaii, an estimated 51% of the seafood consumed is locally sourced. An estimated 80% of Hawaii's commercial catch stays in the state, 2% is exported, and the remainder goes to markets in the U.S. mainland, where we provide 80% of the nation's domestically caught big eye tuna, 50% of the U.S. domestic swordfish, and 50% of the U.S. domestic yellowfin tuna. The fisheries under our management plans are healthy and not overfished, except for striped marlin. Economically, the Port of Honolulu ranks as the nation's 6th most valuable fishing port in landed value. In American Samoa, fisheries account for 52% of the gross domestic product, and the cannery is the major non-government employer. The purse-seine fleet delivers approximately $60 million worth in tuna annually to the cannery. And members, I want to thank you for agreeing to the United States American Samoa proposal at the 14th meeting of the Western and Central Pacific Commission last December in Manila. The provision in the new tropical tuna measure allows U.S. purse-seine vessels to fish 100 more days on the high seas in support of American Samoa's domestic fish processing industry, which has been plagued with supply shortage in recent years. So we thank you for your agreeing to that. In Guam and the Northern Marianas, the commercial pelagic fisheries are underdeveloped, but there's always promise. Guam and the CNMI have a history of U.S. tuna fisheries, pole line fishing, purse-seine fishing, longlining, and transshipment. The local demand for seafood is expected to also increase dramatically here. The tourism and casino gaming industries in the CNMI will be booming with the $3.1 billion expansion of the Imperial Pacific Resort. Benefits from tourism and casinos can and should inspire increased fishing to support these new facilities and the increasing number of hotel employees and guests on the island. It's very important to have a leader like Governor Ralph Torres, who fishes. Do you know that he fishes? A lot nowadays, and understands the economic opportunities for fisheries associated with other industries. The Council shares with the Micronesian nations, states, and territories similar difficulties that stress the marine ecosystems within our respective jurisdictions. Here are just a few. Growing domestic populations that rely on marine resources for sustenance, and an influx of non-indigenous inhabitants and visitors who use and consume these resources. Within the next 20 years, and you probably know this, so I'm just repeating, Guam's population is expected to grow by 12.5%, the Northern Mariana Islands population by 6%, Palau by nearly 18%, and the Marshalls and the Federated States of Micronesia by 15%. Increased conflict between and among extractive and non-extractive users, recreational versus subsistence, versus artisanal, versus large-scale commercial, versus visitor-related sports and party boat fishers, snorkelers, divers, photographers. Greater exposure to domestic and international market pressures that exacerbate conflict and contribute to overfishing. External influences that erode cultural values and traditional sustainable practices. Younger generations and non-native residents and visitors who are less reliant on marine resources, less knowledgeable, and less sensitive to the need for sustainable fisheries management. Governments with limited financial resources and with social, political, and economic priorities that outweigh funding for effective fisheries management and development. Unauthorized fishing and poaching that reduces domestic available fish stocks. So we have assisted Hawaii and the U.S. Pacific Territories and Commonwealth to address some of these challenges through regulations, outreach and education, support of state, territories, and Commonwealth data collection and analyses. This forum, I believe, was established to address these kinds of issues and to consider ways to better deal with these difficulties together. Since the Compact of Free Association was created in '86 and '94 for Palau, the United States has supported the Micronesian communities by giving them access to many U.S. domestic programs: FEMA, Weather Service, Postal Service, FAA, FCC. And the area, while outside the customs jurisdiction of the United States, is mainly duty-free for imports. Most citizens of the Associated States are free to live, work, and study in the United States and the U.S. territories. A 2016 report estimated 34,530 COFA Islanders residing in Guam, Hawaii, and the Northern Mariana Islands. 70% of Compact residents are from the Federated States of Micronesia. And we have been working with the Consul General of the FSM, the local fishing communities, the universities of Guam and Hawaii, and indigenous and Micronesian communities to address impacts of COFA fishermen residing in Guam and Hawaii. In the 80s, we banned destructive gears, like most of you, in our entire 204 million square miles of EEZ. And these also included drift nets, bottom gill nets, poisons, trawls, and things like that. The list sort of goes on, but I'm going to focus only on three things. The first is the management of the Hawaiian longline fishery, which is recognized as a global model. About 100 Micronesians work in this fishery today on the boats and in shoreside services. This fishery began in 1917 and changed to modern gear in the 70s, and then expanded in the 80s due to market demand and an influx of U.S. fishing vessels from the Gulf and the Atlantic. So we had to regulate this expanding fishery, and so we limited the number of vessels to 164, and we restricted their length to 101 feet. We created longline prohibited areas from shore out to 50 miles in Hawaii, and also for Guam, CNMI, and American Samoa. So we have a longline no-take zone in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. It's 27 years old. 15 years later, it became the nation's first marine national monument by presidential proclamation. At the same time, we pioneered the vessel monitoring system for fisheries, and that's now used by fleets worldwide. We did observer coverages, 20% for tuna, 100% for swordfish, and gear changes like circle hooks instead of J hooks, and things like that. So these measures that we promoted proved so successful that seabird and sea turtle interactions were reduced by 90%. We shared these and other responsible fishing techniques at a series of international forums with governments of Japan, Costa Rica, and Taiwan. And so in large part, due to these management measures, the Hawaii and American Samoa longline fisheries are found to be 94% and 93% compliant with the United Nations FAO Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries. 4 of the 7 multinational high-level conferences to finalize the convention to form the Western and Central Pacific Commission were convened in Honolulu, including the conference where the convention was adopted. And so we organized all 4 of these for the United States. And since that time, well, one of the things that was important was that we also ensured that the U.S. government allow the U.S. Pacific territories to have their own seats at the commission. So through the years since the formation, we've organized and co-hosted meetings and workshops in support of the commission, bringing together, scientists, government types, industry, and interested parties, mainly over the years to work on Big I management, which continues to be the most important and contentious issue facing the commission. In all honesty, the Commission has not worked favorably for the Hawaii longline fishery. It has provided the United States with a quota that does not match Hawaii. Okay. So, as I was saying, it doesn't match, the quota doesn't match our capacity, nor is it commensurate with the level of monitoring to which the fleet is subjected. We think that responsible, highly monitored, and strictly controlled fisheries should be rewarded and not penalized. So there you have, you can see all the countries that have quotas. And as I said, ours is so tiny, you can hardly, you can hardly see it. So the other column, the important column that I put up there is not just the quotas, but the column that shows the catch. So as you can see, Japan caught like 70% of its quota. And the strangest thing of all is Indonesia, which reported a catch of only 8 metric tons, which I figured is 0.1% of its quota. So, I have to commend Ria, chair of the commission and a daughter of Micronesia, on her work to get an agreement at last year's meeting in Manila. She has gracefully and competently handled the difficult job of chairing a commission with so many competing interests. So my final example of environmentally sustainable fisheries management is our ecosystem approach to management, which is our fishery ecosystem plans. These plans are spatially based, and what that means is each of our jurisdictions has its own plan, so we concentrate on each island area separately, rather than on species specific, which is the way it used to be in the early days of the Magnuson Act. And so we monitor all of these FEPs, we call them, through annual stock assessments, fisheries evaluations, all those kinds of things, environmental trends, climate change. And what ecosystem approach means is, it really is an approach that requires cooperation among a wider group of people in the decision-making process, not just scientists and fishermen, but also land-based resource agencies, elders with place-based generational knowledge of the land and the sea, and the international community. Climate change is an important indigenous issue, Doug. As indigenous coastal communities are expected to feel the impacts of climate change more severely than others, Pacific Island countries should particularly take note that the stocks of skipjack and bigeye are expected to move eastward with climate change. Skipjack tuna already move eastward during El Nino. Purseine effort has been observed to shift approximately 4,000 kilometers during El Nino. Frequency of El Nino events is predicted to double due to climate change. In the Hawaii longline fishery, effort has shifted from southwest of the islands in earlier years to a strong increase in effort northeast of the islands during the third quarter. So the 300-meter thermocline preferred by bigeye tuna is projected to move to the northeast in response to climate change, and we are tracking this in our annual report for the fishery. Over the past decade, we've supported cultural values and traditional practices through community-based efforts. These have led to finalization in Guam of the community-based management plan for Molesto coastal and marine resources in 2014. The plan was developed by the community, facilitated by the council through a strategic planning process. The final plan and outcomes were endorsed by the Mayor's Council of Guam, vetted through the system and the public. We are currently assisting the mayor of Jigo with a similar plan for his village. The Guam legislature recently passed the Marine Conservation Act of 2017 to implement community-based fisheries management in Umatic. In the end, the council is about maximizing benefits from marine resources for the good of the local people and the nation. Under the Magnuson-Stevens Fishery Conservation and Management Act, Pacific Insular Area Fishery Agreements allow foreign vessels to fish in the EEZ waters around American Samoa, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, and the remote U.S. Pacific Islands in return for a negotiated fee. These fees are used to implement the respective governor's projects identified in their marine conservation plans. These MCPs are also funded by agreements between the U.S. Pacific Territories and Commonwealth and the federally permitted U.S. Longline vessels in Hawaii. Future work for the Council includes addressing the U.S. goal to eliminate illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, and the Trump administration's emphasis on reducing the U.S. $14 billion seafood trade deficit. Import traceability through the U.S. Seafood Import Monitoring Program is one tool that the administration is using to address IUU fishing and the seafood trade deficit. Responsible fisheries development in the territories could also contribute to fighting these problems while providing the islands with improved food security and economic benefits. The Marianas have significant ocean resources, including fisheries and marine minerals. There's a need for coordinated, comprehensive planning to ensure that future initiatives that access these resources are sustainable and provide the most benefits as possible to the local people. Guam fishermen have also repeatedly voiced the need for research to address the huge shark predation problem in those waters. Tackling these and other regional issues is not easy, and I applaud the Micronesian Forum, which is a testament to the solidarity and willingness to work together. One collaborative effort that the Forum has supported is the Micronesian Challenge. The Challenge's initial focus was on effective management of 20% of the land and 30% of the coastal marine environment. The definition of effectively management for us remains elusive because it has often been equated with no-take marine protected areas. We do know that in early 2003, the CNMI submitted 11 MPAs for inclusion in the United States Marine Protected Area Database. Since that time, vast swaths of waters have been set aside as marine national monuments with prohibitions against commercial fishing. In the Western Pacific region, more than half of the US EEZ is now designated as marine national monuments. More than 60% of the US EEZ around Hawaii has commercial fishing bans due to these monuments. So now, after promoting MPAs, Micronesian Challenge Plus is looking to additionally take on sustainable fisheries. And we're happy about that, because we hope that this will lead to their supporting the removal of marine monument fishing bans, not monuments, but fishing bans, and return fisheries management to the local governments and the council, because all of these fisheries were sustainably managed prior to monument designation. Our council is very fond of the slogan, "Fish Forever." By this we mean not only that we have fish stocks forever, but also that our local fishermen have access to catch fish forever and for residents to eat locally caught fish forever. Local fish is fresh, not frozen, safely harvested and processed, and comes from legal, regulated, and reported fisheries. Maintaining the ability to access fish to feed local communities is particularly important for Pacific Island countries and territories in the Western Pacific. where abundances of tuna are projected to decline progressively with a changing climate. The fishermen, fishery scientists, and local fishery managers who work with the Council have faith in the ability of men and women to wisely use our natural resources. We believe this can be done through regulations and within a code that respects nature and moderates our harvests to our needs as promoted in the Fisheries Code of Conduct. There are few places on earth with the beauty of Micronesia, the resourcefulness of the indigenous people, and the connectedness to the marine environment. I hope the commonalities, challenges, and opportunities bind stronger ties within Micronesia and collective future prosperity. In the spirit of managing a common resource, I offer an opportunity to support a workshop, and maybe we'll invite Doug to support this workshop as well, bringing together our fishing managers and others to share our successes and work on our challenges. Aloha and mahalo. Excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiri, Chairman. Thank you. Could I just have a small question for? First of all, Ms. Simons, we certainly appreciate very much your take on this. If I may just add my clarification point on this fishery sustainability of fisheries resources, is that I think the debate continues to be what exactly do we mean by sustainable management of our fisheries versus the research and the data and the scientific facts that the scientists are telling us, and how do we continue to reconcile? Because for those of us obviously out here in the Pacific, where the population of fish is very critical, yes, for our food, for our economy, for our future. If we keep singing the song about sustainable practices and manageable practices, but yet the fact that the population of fish is going down year after year after year, something has to kind of come up in concrete. So my question is, the biggest challenge also for the Micronesian islands is the illegal, unreported, and unregulated fisheries. Because of this, we believe billions of dollars worth of fisheries are also being caught and sold in the markets. Thanks to the initiative of the United States, we have the port state measure. Okay. So my question is, how is that being implemented, and how can you assist the Micronesian islands and small island nations like Palau, who see the benefit of the transparency needed for any vessel to declare where they caught their fish from before it lands on the on the market port? Where are we on this, and how do you see us better addressing the IUU challenge?
I did read a report that it's probably worth like $600 million. I think it came from the FFA. Well, for us, in terms of our fisheries, as I said, education, outreach, but it's all about enforcement. And I think that one of the issues with the commission is many of the members have not complied with 20% vessel monitoring coverage. I think many of them, like Japan, don't even have 5% coverage. So it is difficult. I mean, in the commission, we need to try to get these nations to comply. I think that most of the nations, after the commission decides, everybody decides on consensus what should happen, nations do not go back to their countries and then establish local laws. So you never know what's happening. And that's an issue, I think, because if they did that, they'd be more responsible if their nation decided to actually legislate what came out of the commission, which is what the United States does.
Well, I'm asking this question because Palau, for example, has ratified the port state measure. And many of us are looking at this concept because it makes sense. I mean, you have to know where the illegal catch are going. And if we can all work together to stop the illegal catch from landing on our port of entries, particularly the more advanced nations that benefit from the illegal catch, then we would have a much fairer value of our fishing resources that are going out and we don't know where it's going. But of course, there is that technical capacity for island nations to be able to monitor not just the vessels, but and this is an information technology that the United States could take the lead on and be very helpful to islands that are losing millions and millions of values in fish simply by the illegal fishing trade.
Right, because when the port state measures came up, we found that the states, including our territories, needed funds to actually accomplish what the commission wanted all of us to do, because we do need training, which is a large part of it, and I don't know if that has taken place in Palau, but all of that is supposed to have taken place over the last several years. When we first started talking about this, is like 10 years ago. So I am sure that the United States is willing to support projects having to do with the commission. I know we, the council, over the last several years have supported different kinds of things for the commission, as a lot of workshops, funding travel, funding training. So I am very happy to take this back, and if we can come up with, in the commission, probably come up with a budget for each of the island areas, and to see where the United States can support this, because that is important, port state measures. Thank you.
Mahalo. Mahalo nui loa.
I was trying to say Suju Smaase, but they told me to speak Hawaiian.
How about a round of applause for Ms. Kitty Simon's members and ladies and gentlemen. And just a quick fun fact, in about a year, her and the rest of the people of Hawaii will be celebrating 60 years of statehood. So Ms. Simons, mahalo for that presentation. And now at this point in time, we move on to our last presentation for the afternoon, which focuses on decolonization for self-governance. Now this, sorry. One of the things when you're the moderator, you have to keep time on the speaker. So that meant that Ms. Simons stayed within the 30 minutes. So thank you very much. Okay, getting back to the order of business. Our next presentation focuses on decolonization for self-governance. This will be a presentation that will be shown on the video wall. So we like to ask for the members of the body, along with the members in the gallery, to direct their attention to the video wall as we welcome Executive Director for Guam's Commission on Decolonization, Amanda Blas, to present her video presentation on decolonization for self-governance. All right, can we have, do we need the lights turned on? All right, let's see if we can have the lights. Thank you very much.
Hafide, Guahu si Eribasa Kauvu. Today I stand here not only as the governor of Guam, but I stand before you as a native son and the Magatlahi of an island that has long awaited the pursuit of self-determination. Since the U.S. court decided our plebiscite on political status was unconstitutional because it limited voting to native inhabitants, we have once again at a standstill in exercising our right of self-determination. As Magatlahin Guahan, I have a duty to my people. And that is why I've made decolonization a major initiative in our government. And 6 years ago, I reconvened the Commission on Decolonization after years of inactivity. As the chairman of Guam's Commission on Decolonization, I'd like to update you on our efforts. In history classes, the next generations of Guamanians learn about their rights as Americans, rights that are not guaranteed because we are an unincorporated territory of America. Soon, we hope to see decolonization as a part of our school's curriculum so that our students may learn about their intrinsic right of self-determination, one that has been beyond reach of our people for far too many years. I sent a letter to the United Nations Special Committee on Decolonization, inviting a mission to our island, something that hasn't happened since my father was governor in 1979. Today, we face new challenges when it comes to decolonization and our self-governance. And a visiting mission could shed new light on Guam's pursuit for self-determination, and not only for the United Nations and our island, but for the United States as well. But I will not let the blemishes of the past overshadow the possibilities of the future. For the last 71 years, Guam has been on the United Nations list of non-self-governing territories. And as we come to the end of the third international decade for the eradication of colonialism in 2020, we hope to see Guam take its next steps forward towards decolonization.
What you just heard was an excerpt of Governor Calvo's address to the United Nations Fourth Committee, or the Special Political and Decolonization Committee. Last October, the governor, along with 16 other representatives of Guam, spoke in favor of Guam's quest for self-determination. During that time, Governor Calvo and the delegation from Guam had the opportunity to meet with some of the United Nations ambassadors, including Her Excellency Ms. Amatlaine Elizabeth Kabua of the Republic of the Marshall Islands and Her Excellency Ms. Jane Chigal of the Federated States of Micronesia. There was a clear message during each of these meetings that our islands have a close connection, one that goes beyond sharing an ocean. We are connected by a common dream, one of self-determination. And while many of the islands throughout Micronesia have reached self-governance, for Guam, it has yet to become a reality. This is why, earlier this year, Governor Calvo requested decolonization be added to the agenda for this year's Micronesian Islands Forum. Here is an update on what strides Guam has taken in its efforts towards self-determination. When he first stepped into office in 2011, Governor Calvo relaunched the Commission on Decolonization. Prior to that, the Commission faced a period of inactivity. Serving also as the chairman of the Commission, Governor Calvo ensured local funding was available for the Commission to begin the education process, providing local funding to the Commission for the first time in 20 years. At the Governor's direction, his team also requested assistance from the Department of Interior and was granted $300,000 for the same purpose. In the last year, the Commission has taken some significant steps locally. We're moving forward with a self-determination study, which will provide us with information on how Guam will be under the 3 political status options available to us: free association, independence, and statehood. The study will also look at where Guam is in terms of self-governance. Internationally, Governor Calvo has made movement for the island's decolonization. Aside from speaking before the United Nations Fourth Committee, the governor has requested that a visiting mission from the UN come to Guam to shed new light on Guam's plight for self-determination. In a few weeks from now, the governor also will send a representative to the UN Special Committee on Decolonization's regional seminar to speak on Guam's self-determination efforts. Guam's quest for self-determination is not without its challenges. A U.S. court decided Guam's plebiscite on political status was unconstitutional because it limited voting to native inhabitants after a lawsuit was filed in 2011. Last April, we appealed the decision. However, we remain at a standstill in exercising our right to self-determination. The U.S. has also brought challenges for Guam at the United Nations. Year after year, the U.S. votes against the UN's resolution on Guam, which calls for the U.S. as Guam's administering power to support the island's decolonization. While Guam continues to move forward, there's so much that can be done with the support of our region, and with other islands in Micronesia pursuing political status change or having a discussion on political status, it's only fitting we discuss decolonization at the Micronesian Islands Forum today. Just as we came together in 2016 for the 12th Festival of Pacific Arts and united last year when Guam hosted the Micronesian Islands Forum, it is our hope that our sister islands of Micronesia will come together with us and support Guam's decolonization regionally and internationally. And we look forward to learning from your experiences with self-governance and decolonization.
Thank you very much. I know she's not here with us, but she's definitely with us in spirit. Amanda, thank you very much for that presentation. Mr. Chair. Okay, Mr. Chairman, that concludes the presentation scheduled for today's order of business. Definitely all important issues for each of us to ponder on as we proceed forward with the rest of the 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum. With these presentations concluded and with our presenters still here with us, I now yield the floor to you.
Thank you, Moderator. We're back in session. Open discussion. Anyone? Okay. And I would like to once again, thank all of you and special guests for joining us today and for your presentation. Since we don't have any comments, we'll go ahead and close today, and that'll be our first day of the session. And we'll resume back tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And of course, we have the dinner tonight. We are in recess until tomorrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our presidents and governors on day one of the 23rd Micronesian Islands Forum. We are reminding everybody that at 7 o'clock tonight will be the welcoming dinner reception right outside here at the beach. We look forward to an evening of food, fellowship, and entertainment. Once again, Jesus Masi, Hiliso, we'll see you guys tonight. Thank you.